Good evening. First, I'd like to ask Ms. Stevens to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, a couple announcements. Mr. Smassenow is on his way. He's running a little late. Mr. Quillen will be absent tonight. And Mr. Akari has submitted his resignation from the Zoning Board of Appeals. This is a 5-person board, so we have a quorum, so we're good. And then the public hearing for 1118 Middle Line Road has been moved to next month's meeting. And then minute approval from August 28, 2025. Any comments or questions? May I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes from August 28th, 2025?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Nice.
Ms. Stevens? Yes. Mr. Savoy?
Yes.
Chairman Turkione?
Yes. Next, I'd like to open the public hearing scheduled for 7 p.m. September 25th, 2025 for 429 Sodeman Road. The applicant and owner, Daniel Gaba, is applying for a front yard setback variance and is requesting appeal of the interpretation rendered by the building department regarding the allowance of an accessory structure on a lot without an associated principal structure. The subject parcel is located at 429 Sodeman Road, comprised of 17.62 acres with approximately 616 feet of road footage with an existing single-family home and a detached garage/barn structure. The applicant is proposing to subdivide the parcel to separate the barn from the associated primary building. At our August 28th, 2025 meeting, the project was classified as a type 2 action under SECRA, making this exempt from further environmental review. So would the applicant or representative please come to the podium and explain to the board what relief you are seeking and why?
Mr. Chairman, members of the Zoning Board of Appeals, my name is Matt Jones. I'm a lawyer. I practice here in Saratoga Springs. I practice in Saratoga Springs, I guess not here in Saratoga Springs, to be technical about it. We represent Danny Gaba and his family in connection with the application. And so essentially 2 forms of relief that we're seeking, both in the form of an area variance. Let's see. It's probably easier to see it if we have it on the screen, but having reviewed it with you before, maybe the easiest thing to do is to summarize it and then take questions is the better part of it. But an area variance, nice. An area variance in connection with driving the application is, as I said last month, there is no physical change at all to anything that's being proposed. The house will remain in the same location. The barn will remain in the same location, and the large lot across the street, nothing is happening to there. So there's no physical change to anything that's being proposed. What is the objective is to set the matter up for the planning board on a subdivision modification, and that is to keep the house in the family. I beg your pardon. The house which is in the family is to be sold, and that's a 5-acre lot as reconfigured. Barn will stay just as it with no change there. And again, across the street, the barn, as you recall, is important to us. And it's important to us because that's where all the tractors are and the equipment which are used for
issue.
not at all, to maintain the large lot directly on the other side of Sodeman Road. In part, I was drawn by the building inspector's commentary last week about the setbacks and those generally being used for principal uses. And the standard is less when you're talking about accessory uses, if I summarized that correctly, in what we discussed just a month ago. So that's the large picture. Nothing changes physically. It allows the house to be sold off on a 5-acre parcel and does nothing with the barn and does nothing with the properties. Please take your questions.
Just said, well, I have one question. I did read everything.
Okay.
The barn, is it used agriculturally at all?
Agriculture in the sense that the farm equipment is there and it's used on the parcel also owned by the Gaba family.
No, you don't have to expand that. Yes, that's fine.
The answer is yes.
That's all the only question I have.
Good. Okay. All right. Any other questions? All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Would anyone from the public like to make a comment? No? All right.
Zoom?
Anyone on Zoom?
No.
All right. May I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Mr. Masanow,
Yes.
Ms. Stevens,
Yes.
Mr. Savoy,
Yes.
Chairman Terhune.
Yes. Okay. Before I ask the board if they have any questions, I'm gonna steal the spotlight for a little bit, see if I can filibuster some time for Bill. I did want to address Mr. Lewis's interpretation of the town code with an accessory structure. I do think that he was right to bring that in front of the zoning board, being that it's vague, somewhat vague in language. But I think it's pretty obvious that it is an accessory structure. However, the town of Milton also has adopted a right to undertake agricultural practices. And I'm going to go through a couple different definitions that I think are relevant to this application. Under 81.3, right to undertake agricultural practices, farmers as well as those employed, retained, or otherwise authorized to act on behalf of farmers may lawfully engage in farming practices within the town of Milton at any and all such time and all such locations as are reasonably necessary to conduct a business of farming for any activity or operation in determining the reasonableness of the time, place, and methodology of such operation. Due weight and consideration shall be given to both traditional customs and procedures in the farming industry as well as to advances resulting from increased knowledge and improved technology. Next one, agricultural practices include all activities conducted on a farm and necessary to the operation of a farm. Let's go to farm. Includes livestock, dairy, poultry, fur-bearing animals, agricultural, fruit, vegetable, field, crop, farm, plantation, orchards, nurseries, greenhouses, or other similar operations used primarily for raising of agricultural or horticultural commodities. And then farming operations, just leads to next, the land and on-farm buildings, equipment, and practices which contribute to the raising, production, preparation, and marketing of crops, livestock products for gain. The farm operation include necessary farm structures within the prescribed limit of the farm parcel and the storage of equipment as part of the farm operation. A farm operation does not need does not include the operation of a commercial stable or kennel. And to Mr. Smassenow's point, an agricultural building, a customary farm building incidental to a farm operation, including farm worker housing, barns, silos, storage shed, corn cribs, grain bins, milk houses, animal pens, and similar structures. Now, in regards to, and I think Mr. Lewis brought this because there is an exempt form for farming. I don't know, what's the actual name? Farming
Just if
exemption.
I can enlighten you a little bit, the reason why the applicant is before you, the applicant has a pre-existing non-conforming setback and lot as it exists with the 18 acres currently. He's asking the planning board to do a 2-lot subdivision of that parcel. By creating the 2-lot subdivision, it becomes a non-conforming lot, which he can't get approved. I don't know where the farming issue comes into play. That's the interpretation, I guess, of the building is what you guys are, or the use, basically, the building itself. You are in the R2 residential zoning district, which is rural residential too. In order for him to, in my mind, as a zoning official, to have a farm operation. Now, we are right to farm community. You can farm, you can harvest, you can have roadside stands and sell your goods. That's all good. But if you're a farm operation, you have to meet higher criteria in my mind, which we go to the state, fill out the applications for farming applications. If you want, get the exempt applications from the town to be exempt from certain parcels. Again, Glenn and I had this discussion. That's my interpretation of it. And it has been. I personally, with the reason why it's sent before you is I believe that the reason that it's in the code is to stop from parcels having a shed or an accessory building put on them and then have clutter brought in and no principal structure there. And then it becomes a enforcement issue. It also becomes a sightly issue and there's nobody on site. They come once a month or twice a month. As I said last week, the Gaba family's been established in this community for almost 100 years or more. They're very, they have a very good reputation. I don't see it an issue, but if this were to arise for another applicant in the future where they are looking to subdivide a parcel with an accessory use structure on it and no principal, they're going to be back before you guys to make that decision on your end. That's just my interpretation of that non-residential accessory use dwelling to you guys. I don't know if that clarifies it or helps.
I agree with you. I do, and I think that's why I said before. I think you're right to bring it up to the board because you don't have exemptions from the town for farms or for tax purposes. So I do think
We are a right to farm community though. You can farm, you can hay, you know, a lot of people
Yeah.
hay their fields, sell it and pay their taxes. I think, I mean, I'm not just stipulating, I don't personally do it, but I'm assuming that's what they do. And to me, that's a right to farm. You have your property, you can use your property to make income. That's what it's, you know, you're paying taxes on it. You have to pay taxes on it. And that's the physical use.
Phil,
Yeah.
can I ask you a question? Let's say somebody has a piece of land.
Mhm.
And they decide to put a barn on it. Would they?
Not if it's just a piece of land. No, that's why you're here. That's why they're here.
unless they get the exempt
Really?
forms.
Have to build a residence from.
That's what the section of code that's before you. Yeah, it's for that, I believe, within talking to the previous building inspector and other communities, it's not only isolated in this community, there's other communities that enforce it as well. They don't want the patchworks. If you go to some rural communities where they have lots, they put a shed on the lot and they bring snowmobiles in, they have lawnmowers in there, and everything builds up and they don't have a principal structure on it. And then they either walk away from it or live in an outer community someplace and you end up having a enforcement nightmare. And I think that's the reason why it's in play. But again, that's my interpretation.
When did they stop growing sweet corn there?
My grandmother died in '89, I mean, then my uncles probably stopped and cleared and maybe 8 or 10 years later.
That's the thing I remember,
Yeah.
you know, eating their sweet corn. That's why
There was
And a
farm
Christmas
stand-
tree
there was a
farm.
Farm stand by the family there for
Yeah.
multiple years, all my life as a child.
It's a tough one.
Now, I lost my train of thought. So
A loophole, eh?
I agree with Mr. Lewis. I do think that the town code, it's somewhat vague. The concern is that farming operations on that parcel, right? You're using the barn to maintain a separate parcel, right? And then obviously enforcement is a concern, and enforcement if that parcel is ever not owned by you, who has a good reputation in the town, and Mr. Lewis feels very confident that you will maintain the property. So I think that's,
Also, as Mr. Savoy asked earlier, there is the property maintenance. We have the property maintenance code, which
do.
which covers all properties within the town of Milton boundaries for enforcement of property maintenance, weeds, trash, garbage, unregistered vehicles, and things like that. So it's an enforceable action. It's just, I think the intent of that section was to spear off it from happening, stop it from happening, preempt the issue from happening. And basically that I believe is the intent of the code. Personally, if they come before you, they're asking for relief of that. We have the property maintenance code that we can enforce on the lot, whoever owns it.
Bill,
Yeah.
just thinking about this, trying to come up with something that's gonna solve your problem, which is a problem.
I personally, Eric, in the enforcement, I have no problem.
Hear me out. Would you be willing to look at a couple of conditions? For example, and you're gonna have to, it's just something off the top of my head. I haven't thought it all the way through. Where if you sell that property, like, that it would be for the express purpose. In other words, you couldn't sell it unless somebody took out a building permit to put a permanent resident. That would be one thing, and/or that the only other way you could sell that property would be to tear down the barn. One of those two conditions. Now, would that be okay?
yeah,
That would solve the problem.
the only other option I considered was if that parcel is sold at a fair market value, then the variance is no longer, I guess, approved. It'll expire if it's not sold, or if it is sold at a fair market value.
What that means exactly.
Glenn, can they actually do that with an area variance? I thought the area variances typically run with the property from,
I don't think you can.
They typically do,
yep,
but they're also allowed to impose conditions
okay.
when the condition is specifically related to the condition that they're trying to address. And I think you could do. If Mr. Jones were to disagree, we should talk about it, because I think that's one of the easiest ways to go.
Again, I just for the enforcement, that would be tough for us to track, because it's going to be a deed restriction.
The deed restriction on, where somebody, the only way you could sell it is someone has to, with the express purpose. I don't know how you work out the nomenclature there, but let's face it, if somebody buys it, it'll be one of two reasons. They're going to add it to a farm, highly unlikely, or they want to put a house up. And so I don't think that's a huge imposition to you. But it, I'm not pushing that on you. I'm just throwing it out there as a way to help Bill, that he doesn't have to worry about anybody else trying to put a shed up. And that would solve the problem of the non-conforming lot, because you would be putting a home.
Yeah, and we're aware of it in the building
Yeah,
department.
and
It's just
everybody's-
typically that's why when a variance is granted, it runs with the property and because if another building inspector comes in, they can, it's it's an enforceable thing. Like if you're, that's what I'm saying. When they put that, when he puts that restriction, or when you give him the area variance, or if you grant him the area variance, runs with the property. So the new people come in and it's granted for that property. And again, like I said, the intent was for one reason. The enforcement mechanism, we can enforce any day, anytime, 24/7, 365. I'm not worried about the enforcement aspect of it per se. I'm more the interpretation of that section of
And
code.
if you want to take some time, like I said, if you want to check and see if that works with the other people in the family or so, I don't know who's making what decisions,
If you have thoughts, yeah, please come up.
And Gaba, I wouldn't have a problem with that. I mean,
Yeah,
the-
just,
the
to
property
me,
that
that
was
seems
sold,
to solve a lot of issues.
Yeah.
It just has to be written in such a way that it's solid. And, if you're the only one that has to agree to it, that's, I don't know, if it's a family thing or.
Yeah, I mean, if the property was ever sold, it would be either to a family member or if somebody was coming in. there.
That's why I'm worried about fair market value, because if you sell it to a family member, it might be for a lot less, and I'm worried about that. That makes any sense.
It does, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I wouldn't want to force you to charge somebody more than you might want to give a better deal to a family member.
Right.
So that's the only reason fair market value scares me. And this is something, if he agrees to it, I think it solves all the problem.
I agree. And the idea, because Mr. Gaba also expressed his concern that if one of his sons were to inherit or take over the property, then they would have to come up in front of us again.
No, they would, they.
Unless it's sold at fair market value, they wouldn't,
Right.
right? Yeah,
This
so
is
that was the
something where
point.
If it's, one of your sons gets it and he wants to sell it, the only way he can sell it is if somebody has a contract to actually, take out a permit and be ready to, we'd have to write it specifically. It might have to be looked at. How do we write it so that it's enforceable
I see.
and
You're
works
saying
out?
after the,
But, I think that solves your problem. And, I'm about, how do we make it work? I'm not trying to, but we gotta respect Bill's problem. And I think it's well put, so. Sure.
So if I, just for clarity purposes, this would, burden the property in the sense that, it could be sold to a family member, which would be fine, or sold.
Has to be sold to a family member with the intent of either farming, where you'd have to have all the paperwork to make it part of a farm, or they have to take, pull a permit to put a house there. One or the other.
But sold you're not restricting it just to his family for
Well,
sale.
no, it could be,
Yeah.
or sold to anybody, but there's gotta be for somebody to move onto that property, there has to be a primary residence for you to be able to sell it. Or sell it to an existing farming group or whatever the term might be.
If you're doing that, you're going to have to impose a time limit on the applicant as well. I mean, if he sells the property
yeah.
60 days, 100 days, 2 years.
I think it has to be a reasonable amount of time.
Yeah, a reasonable amount of time.
How
Yeah.
those terms are written out, I don't want to, I just threw it out. We might need a little time to word it correctly so that it works. I don't want to impose crazy stuff on you guys. On the other side of the fence, it's got to be workable, right? Something that you could agree to. I want you to have a chance to look at it and be happy.
Now, if it's if it's sold at a fair market value, that's essentially, and you might, but essentially you wouldn't sell it to your son at a fair market value. Okay. So if he does sell it, then it expires. So if it goes outside of one of your sons,
Oh, the fair
then it,
market, what you mean to, yeah, but I don't think we want to even address that. I think basically.
I think that's a
Bill
way to
needs-
capture it.
Bill needs it to either be a farming property, part of a farm, so that that non-conforming barn could be part of agriculture where the guy's got all the exemptions and all that stuff. Or the person's gonna build a house there. And then it becomes, just their property.
That's what yours does in a different way. You're talking about the
Yeah.
same exact thing. It's
Yeah.
just getting at it two different words. Basically, I think the chairman had earlier suggested if we just have the variance expire, if the property is sold at fair market value, then
They would have to do something to bring it into compliance.
Okay, yeah, I see what you guys.
Yeah. Or apply for the farming exemptions with the town and the state. They would have to do something other than what you are doing now.
Let's get that stuff out and start planting quickly.
That would still, it would still have to come back even if they sold it to someone who started planting corn at the other parcel, because this is a different parcel altogether.
Yeah, but-
So I think that way, and please, if you have
I think we're both on the same.
any other thought, but yeah, if you're selling the property to someone, this expires and it has to either, and if, I don't know how we put, if whoever the buyer is, a reasonable amount of time not to exceed
6 months.
6 months. Is that reasonable to build a house?
It's reasonable to pull a permit and.
Yeah, you're looking at a permit.
Okay.
Yeah.
A reasonable amount of time to apply for a
When
permit.
it open, it's just saying a reasonable amount of time.
I think reasonable amount of time, because it's also, if they apply for the farming exemptions, that might be a different timeline than building permit. And that seems to be the only two ways to get the parcel into compliance.
Building permits under a month if approved. So, I mean, as long as they apply for the application, they can come in the next day, apply for it. That to me is they're pulling a building permit. We issue it within 2 weeks, a month at the most.
Now, is there a concern with them actually moving forward with building?
Well,
Hey,
they
Builder?
can be aware of it.
No.
Okay.
I mean, we obviously patrol the neighborhood.
Okay.
We obviously have, and people typically, we get some people that try to build without building permits, but for the most part, people that know will come in, pull a building permit right away and build. I don't have an issue with the enforcement part of it or the building permit aspect of it. The only thing is the restriction part of it. That is the hard part for us to enforce because it's a deed restriction and we have no authority.
Yeah, if that's filed.
Yeah, that's filed, exactly. It's filed for
Then
the applicant, that whoever's purchasing it and
whoever purchases.
Correct.
That's gonna come up in the title search.
correct. But I'm totally fine with the enforcement mechanism that we have in place with the New York State Property Maintenance Code. And I'm just basically, the interpretation is for that non-residential accessory dwelling.
So just for us collectively, because I think we're trying to get to the same place.
Mhm.
Can we recite the three components? If I have those right, the three components of the language that would go in this resolution?
I think that and I think it captures everything, that the variance shall automatically expired when we refer to as lot 1 in here, 429 Sodeman. Well, I guess it'd be a different parcel number. Did we have a
It's on the map, it's lot 1.
lot 1?
Yeah.
There will be another parcel number with the planning board. But when lot 1 is subsequently sold at fair market value, unless a principal structure has been lawfully constructed on the parcel. Now, if they apply for any farming exemptions with the town, that exempts them from different restrictions No, supersede this, I'm
It
assuming.
was superseded. That's right.
Perfect. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Works for us. Okay.
Is that the motion?
Nope.
Quick.
Not this one. I scribbled on it. Okay. So, we're going to go through the different aspects the zoning board of appeals shall consider, during review of a proposed, area variance. Whether an undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties will be created by granting the area variance.
No, because it already exists.
I agree. Whether the benefits sought by the applicant can be achieved by some method feasible or the applicant to pursue other than an area variance.
Agree to the restrictions or what, you know, what we're asking solves that.
I agree. And the only other, I think, feasible method to capture what you're trying to do would be demolish the barn and build a new barn. I don't know if that's feasible, right? Okay. Yeah, right. So I don't know if there's another feasible option.
This is common sense solution. I would say this is a common sense solution
Yep.
where it's good for the town, good for the applicant, and it's good for the building inspector.
Which brings me to another
Win-win.
part, yeah. Whether the proposed variance will have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions of the neighborhood or district. I think granting it will have a positive impact. If we don't, that lot, who knows what happens to that lot? Now, the other parcels that Mr. Gaba owns might be maintained at the same level, might not. I mean, you'd have to invest, which is I don't think it's feasible, but
I guess probably the best way to put it is, anybody that's gonna look for a parcel like that is, gonna be adding to the rural lifestyle of the western part of the town. Why else would they buy it? Right?
unless they want to build a house there.
Which
is fine.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
if you can get, you know, you're gonna wanna live there, you know, nobody buys that much land to,
I agree.
you know, yeah.
Ms. Stevens, I feel like you were going to say something.
I'm
Yeah.
kind of
See?
the fact, I mean, I understand that this is a reasonable request and obviously common sense. But my concern is that others will say, well, they did it. Can we do it? It'll set the precedents for it. So that's my concern about this whole thing.
If we have those restrictions.
The restrictions will help limit that,
They're
agreed.
welcome to do it too.
Yeah.
As long as all things are the same.
And I agree. And I had this discussion a couple times, is setting precedents, but I also think in, you know, people refer maybe the spirit of the law. I think the barn is being used for, you know, maintaining the property. Mr. Gaba communicated to me that he was speaking with someone about crops on his parcels. So it seems like it has an agricultural aspect to it. And there is corn on a different one that you have too. Is that right? No. And when we were talking about the soil and grass, yeah. So, yeah, there's some, yeah.
But it's sandy.
And I also think that it's important to this application that Mr. Gaba also communicated how much he has already I don't know if cleaned out or improved the property since he's taken ownership of it and has attempted to maintain both this parcel and the parcel across the street. So I think that is a unique difference in someone just wanting to have an accessory structure standalone.
I think the fact that it already exists also makes a difference. Because
I agree.
obviously they wouldn't be able to get a building permit for it now. The fact that it's in existence would, but that was my biggest concern with it.
Yep. And they would all have to come back to us and we can make that determination at the time. Okay. Last one, whether alleged difficulty was self-created, which consideration shall be relevant to the decision of the Board of Appeals, but shall not necessarily preclude the granting of the area variance.
Well, it wasn't self-created because there was no zoning when it was built. If there was, if they were aware of it, when that barn was built, and I'm sure it was way before we had zoning.
That is incorrect. The barn was built, I believe, in 2006.
2006.
But it's on a pre-existing conforming lot. The applicant's trying to subdivide. into
Subdividing is
two
what takes it out.
parcels, creating a non-conforming lot. That's why he's before the board.
Okay.
Now I would also,
It's funny to see that little computer.
yeah, it could probably go back both ways, self-created, because they're trying to subdivide, but not because Mr. Gaba and his sister inherited the property, which is vacant, and they stated last month that there has been break-ins in the house that is sitting vacant right now, which if that remains vacant, might be an adverse impact on the neighborhood. So maybe a bit of both. So is there anything we want to add or change for the sold at a fair market value unless a principal structure has been lawfully constructed on the parcel?
I think that's covering it.
Yeah.
That's covering.
All right. So I'd like to have a motion to approve the area variance for the front yard setback, 57.3 feet. And I guess the accessory structure, which the variance shall automatically expire when lot 1 is subsequently sold at fair market value unless the principal structure has been lawfully constructed on the parcel.
So moved.
Second.
Second that.
Mr. Smasino?
Yeah.
Ms. Stevens?
Yes.
Mr. Savoy?
Yes.
Chairman Terhune?
Yes. And I would also like to reiterate property maintenance, which I know is not Bill's concern, but please, and I'm sure you will maintain the property well, but
Grandfather used to take a 12-pound sledge, hold the end of it and go like that with one hand, kiss it and then put it back.
yeah,
You don't want to mess with these guys.
yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I guess a premature congratulations. Yeah. Any minute now. Any minute now. May I have a motion to adjourn today's meeting?
Second.
All in favor? Say aye.
Oh,
Aye.
I apologize. A bit of a catalyst.